Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We're here live on Co-working Live with Red Worldwide, and we are so excited that you're here with us. Today, we have a very, very special time again because it is Wellness Wednesday, and we have Crystal Morgan Holloway back with us again today. We are so excited to have Coach Crystal, and so we want to bring her on because we're going to give her all the time so that she could give us a wonderful outpouring of wellness today that we can take with us as business owners to just be able to do business well. Coach Crystal, are you there?
Good morning. Are you able to hear me?
Oh, we are. You sound amazing. Wonderful. I'm so glad that you're here with us again today. And we are just excited to just be a part of whatever you're going to bring to us. And we look forward to having some wonderful information today from all of your studies and what it is that you are sharing with the world. Well, with that said, Coach Crystal, take it away.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be back and sharing this with everybody. And doing time this morning, it's actually been great. What I wanted to talk about something like I've experienced, and I actually did a walk recently for my condition Chiari's malformation, and we had to do a mile when we had to walk. And it's like, okay, I can do this. Well, I started off too fast, first of all, doing the walk, but I had a determination to finish. But I was kind of worried, like, am I going to be able to complete it? What am I going to be able to do? What if I start getting in pain, which it comes automatically? Well, I was able to actually do only half of it. But what I noticed was, what I want to talk about today is, like, in our thinking, is understanding the law of the lid that comes from John Maxwell. But I put a lid on myself, and we're going to go into this shortly about it, is what our preconceived notions of what we can and can't do it sometimes. And just because it's our experience and what we've done already. So going through it, we had a group of us going. It was great to see other people that share the same rare condition that there's no cure for it, but that doesn't mean that's the end of the world, because there's no cure, because it's how we and I choose to live our lives when certain things happen to us, especially beyond our control. And that's like the hardest. When things are beyond our control, we want to control it so much. We want to control that narrative no matter what we do. It actually becomes a vice. It doesn't help us completely. It actually hinders us, because we're not allowing those doors that this narrative can be showing us opportunity, instead of actually holding us back and making a barrier. So I want to share with you how to understand it more, in some ways that I've worked with it, in some ways I have seen it in some of my training, and how to tackle it, and some strategies. And for that, well, let me share my screen with everyone. Let's see. Now, are you able to see my screen? Okay. Now, I want to talk to you, like I said, about understanding the law of the lid. And I love this picture here, because it is what I would like to, do a mental picture of. This is what it feels like when you finally break through and you release that barrier. And this is invisible. And some of the principles and the concept it's very profound. And looking at it, and just take a minute to look at it, and what can you think on yourself that maybe you need to break out of? What potential do you have that you keep within yourself that you don't allow to come? And I found this actually with many business leaders, how this can impact you in your businesses, but also personal with our Wellness Wednesday, because we have to dive deep sometimes to understand and examine some of the effects that happen to us, and I'll cover some of those strategies, and maybe some things that we have already done already. Where else can we improve, or maybe just pivot a little bit to try to harness some of that power that we have inside us that we don't really always know is there. Our battery is full charge, but we just have to get moving. I love the commercial that you don't see that much about the Energizer Bunny. We have to invoke that energy and that power that we have in us, because it's always there and always waiting for us. It's like, what are we going to do to move forward and have fun with it? Now I have, what is the law of the lid that we speak about? The law of the lid, and basically is if there was an experiment with fleas, they put fleas in a jar. And yeah, I don't like fleas either, but it's the best way to give you an example of what I want to say. They put fleas in a jar, and they put the lid on the jar. The fleas kept jumping and jumping, would only jump up until the lid. So they were in there for 3 days. So when they took the lid off, the fleas are already accustomed to not jumping higher than that lid. And then their offspring actually followed. So the lid actually was no longer there. So in the law of the lid is the ability of your leadership ability to determine your organization's and your personal level of effectiveness. It places the cap on your team's potential. So visualize this jar with the fleas jumping, and now the cap is not there. And look how it actually is referenced into your own life. So what lids maybe you can identify? That lid on top of the jar, it's going to symbolize your maximum point of growth and the impact that you have in your organization. So you can determine, and it's determined by the limitations of your own leadership abilities, your abilities that apply to yourself. And I love this because it does go in both sides of life, and personal and professional. But I want you to understand sometimes that is your potential, because you limit it by that cap that you make on yourself. So the lower the lid it is the lower a potential leadership ability that you place on yourself. So some of the consequences when you have the lower lid, it explains that some organizations, they thrive while others will struggle based on what we do. So those leadership skills of that top person, the leader, it sets the tone for that. It sets that maximum potential for the whole entire team. And if you look at personal, it's for your whole family. It's what you show and what they look at for you. What can we do different? Understanding that consequence is big. So when we have the lid, it's high, it's set high, we set it so we can increase the potential that we have. And it's working together. But ultimately, it's the person that is leading. Now, as we spoke about in some other things too, what John Maxwell speaks on too, certified trainer, speaker, and coach for him also, is what do we do in our own actions and abilities, and reflecting on what we can and can't do? How do we limit ourselves? How do we limit the team when we don't even know it? So again, this is like an invisible barrier that we're limiting the team and not even realize it, especially when we don't do our own self reflectiveness and we don't work on our own self-growth that we have within ourselves. We actually in turn, and this is unintentional, 9 out of 10 times it's unintentional. We don't want our organization or our peers, I like to say team members, we don't want them to suffer or struggle, but we do when we're not developing more and we're using these lids. And these lids, I'm going to help you define a little more. What are actually some of the lids in that, and how can it impact us and what we're doing? So the impacting on the business owners and the leaders is a lot of times it says that business growth that you have. What is it that is stopping in your business? Business owners often, they find in their organizations that the growth is stagnated, and is due to their own limitations, their leadership limitations that they have. They're not even realizing it. So you can have, when it comes to being yourself, as in the personal growth of it, what are some effects that you might be making in your decisions? How it is influence you and yourself and within your team and the company? How is it doing that? What can be in it? So in personal growth, even as the leader and as yourself, there's personal burnout, which we all have experienced it. And we experience this daily. And sometimes we don't even understand the level and the capacity of how we are actually burning out because we don't realize it. Because we're like this train engine that keeps going in just full speed down the track. Now we are taking care of some of the curveballs that are coming as we're going down the track, but are we taking care of it in the best quality nature? Are we addressing it just to get it done? Are we addressing it just as a temporary Band-Aid until we get to the next stop? What are we doing? Are we surmounting more problems on top of problems by letting them stagnate and say, oh, we took care of it, but put that Band-Aid. But what happens when that Band-Aid gets ripped off? What happens as you're on your train track and you miss that next stop? You're missing some missed opportunities because of how we're doing. So without the right leadership skills, without the business owners, they fail to capitalize on those missed opportunities because they're focused and they're burned out right now. Opportunities that actually can help as they're moving. You fail to capitalize and see the competition surge that may be ahead of you when you're actually becoming this stagnation of growth. That missed opportunity could be a team member that could actually help you. A lot of times as business owners and leaders, a lot of times we think we can do everything on our own. And yes, we can to a degree, but however, we get more done when we work together. We get more done when we can trust. So that impact it's going to have on your revenue, it's even going to have on your culture, the mindset of your team members that you have. So these lids are there for you to help you grow, not ignore. A lot of times we will ignore, especially when we're thinking we can do everything ourselves. Or the biggest thing that I see is we don't have enough time in the day. Is it we don't have enough time in the day? And we say, well, we need better time management. I don't like to say time management. I love to say productivity management. What are we doing with the time to be productive? And when we get overwhelmed, when we miss these burnout, when we miss these opportunities, we're filled with burnout, it just starts compounding. And we kind of get in a brain fog and we get overwhelmed and we get flustered. So moving and identifying some of these lids. So with the lids that we lapse, a lot of times is sometimes we need to put a lid on just to see where we are, to get that big visual view of it, the big picture view. Sometimes we're caught up in the small details about it, but we need to see that big picture where we're going. And sometimes when we're looking at it, some of the pros and cons that we have, what can you see within yourself? So what would be a pro and what would be a con that you have when you're looking at it? When you're looking at trying to actually be reflective and you're being intentional in your growth, and it unlocks that potential you have for you. So in the laws of the lid, it provides a clear framework for your understanding and the critical role of leadership within your organization's success. So what does that look like to you? Everyone has a different picture of what success looks like. Everyone does. So what does it look like to you? It could be better communication. It could look like maybe being happy, even going to work, even going through that door. Sometimes you have this sometimes heavy weight. Oh, I'm going into work. Where did that passion go when you first began that position and you first took it on or even offered it? How did you feel when you were even selected as for the opportunity to say, hey, we want you to be a leader. We think you're good at it. Do we see your talent that you have, the drive that you have, and what you're doing so naturally? Did that passion die? Or where did it go? Did you just maybe have it dormant because of what you're visualizing of maybe you're not being heard, maybe you're not a good leader, maybe you can't do it right now, or maybe just right now the team culture is just not very good right now. It may not be cohesive, but think about what can you do? A lot of times when we're looking at things, we only see the negative because it's the side in what I see, especially, which I don't like watching the news a lot of times. It's informative, even the weather more like, but we have a tendency to gravitate more towards the negative aspect of life and what's going on. You don't always really see this person got a medal for this. This person make a big impact in the community. You don't see that. So we often gravitate towards a negative because a lot of times that it derives more conversation. But let's turn it and let's flip our lid the other way for the positive aspect about it. What energy can we bring to ourselves? What energy can we bring to the table that is going to change this? So the opportunity is showing those doors that recognizing this law of the lid. What door can I open? What door can I unlock? Focusing on my personal growth and developing my skills more. Let's look at our strength, the skills we do very easily, and that comes. How can we capitalize on this? Not so much look at your development areas. The development areas, those maybe should be filled by our team members, our counterparts, because that comes so easy to them. That time that's wasted, quote unquote wasted, that we could have delegated to someone else to do it, we sitting here pondering saying, I can do it all myself again. So us sitting there doing it all ourselves again, what are we doing? We're taking away from maybe decisions that we should be focusing more on, that are heavier, more important, that we need to make, that no one else can make. It's our responsibility to make. This even comes with in your personal life. It's the decision-making aspect of it. So what can we do to change that? And it's raising that lid. It's being okay to let go. It's okay to sit and delegate. It's okay to capitalize on our skills. So when we accept the law and we become acknowledging of some of the limits that we have, which can be challenging for a lot of people, especially when it's different, it's new. But again, look at the mindset of when you accepted this leadership position. It was new, it was different, but you had such a smile on your face. You had so much energy. Where did that go? And I understand things happen when you're in a company. The rules change, policy changes, and more or less sometimes the people change also. So it's just that challenging of just overcoming. Overcoming, you still are achieving. So let's look at the word overcoming. Something is coming to you, but you can step over it or you can step around it. This is how you look at when the pros and cons of the overcoming aspect of it. Is it truly overcoming, avoiding it and not even want to deal with it? Or is it just overcoming, stepping over it, and you're taking more steps? But while you're taking those steps, you are finding different solutions. You're embracing your team members to help you do that. And you're actually giving yourself a sense of peace because you are doing what requires it. You're taking that willingness to change, and you're also being committed to continuous learning and improvement. And learning is not only book learning. Learning is firsthand, in-person experience. It's going straight to the person if there's a conflict. And it's just how you talk to somebody. How would you want to remove this if there's a communication is so big in organizations, and even as a person, we think we're communicating, but in the middle of communicate, like I like to say, in the middle of the word, you have you and I. It takes both of us. It's not me just telling you. It is me asking. It's me extracting information. It's me understanding, and it's compromising in the sense and collaborating, but it's okay to agree to disagree. That is not used enough that I see. I see your standpoint, but understanding that we both can sit here and have a willingness to change. We have a commitment to work through communication and on our communication. A lot of times when we have the lids and like looking at it is, what is the best beneficial outcome? It's not right or wrong. It's the best beneficial outcome when you change that perception, that way of thinking, not right or wrong. How can we collaborate together? What is the best beneficial resolution right now? And it can always change. That's the, it's not cemented. We can always change it. Always change it. What we are doing and what we can do. We always can do something. Sometimes doing nothing does not solve it. It may at times decrease some tension. It may decrease some anger at times. That happens. But a lot of times is put forward that 110% of commitment. You have to make some of these commitments to yourself. And that's first and foremost. A lot of times when we're making boundaries and commitments, we don't stick to it, but we sit and we expect someone else to commit and adhere to what their word is saying. How can we expect someone to keep a word if we cannot do it ourselves? Another thing that comes to mind also is making a list of what you want someone to be or how you want someone to act and what you require. Look at that list. When you're looking at it to require, is that what you're doing? Are you requiring this of yourself to do this? It works both ways. It is mutual benefit when you uphold yourself to some of the requirements that you want someone else to acquire, and you want them to actually commit to doing so. That makes it a more easier to follow, easier to move through, especially navigating. A lot of times we don't like to ask questions, and we have to identify some of the lids that are holding us down. Some of these questions, can we answer them? And it comes to, again, I'm saying that self assessment. We're reflecting on what it is. And I love the mirror aspect, because the mirror doesn't lie. It's our vision that we have. It's our thoughts. But we have to honestly and transparently evaluate our own leadership abilities, our strengths, and areas for improvements. So where are you feeling stuck at in your leadership? Where do you see that you can improve in your leadership and in yourself, in your mind thinking, in your thoughts? Where are you holding yourself back? And a lot of times I heard this on a question, where does constructive feedback come from? It comes from all levels and any person. But behind that constructive feedback, is that feedback coming from a person that has good intentions for you, that is in your corner? Because I believe when you have someone who has good intention for you and they're coming from it, it's better to accept, even though sometimes it's not always great to accept what you're quote unquote doing incorrectly, or you're not meeting your own standards. So that team feedback, I would encourage you to seek it. Seek it for yourself too, of get an outside perspective of how you are impacting leadership, because our views and someone else's views is totally different. Just like our perception, our reality is our thoughts, our experiences, and anything else that comes to make up that pot of ingredients that give us that vision as we see of ourselves, that sight with our eyes that we see of ourselves. Sometimes the eyes can deceive us because of what we're thinking, that thought that we're manifesting. So seeking that team impact, that team feedback. What have others said about your leadership style? Take it all in, pull from it where you can agree with. Even when you don't agree, see if there is some validity in it. If there's some validity in it, take it as that growing opportunity, that impact that you can make more positive and more better. Someone that can identify you, easier to work with, quote unquote, with you. And I'm not saying bend your boundaries. I'm not saying you have to do what everyone else is saying. I'm saying what you feel your best that you can do, and know you're doing your best without taking in what someone else is thinking, but lead with the impact that you're making, with that passion that gave that thing. Sometimes adding a title to your position or your role, we get a little more apprehensive or doubtful, because now it is a commitment. We have that more responsibility and we have that more accountability. But accountability comes with or without that title. And that's how you position yourselves with those. Accountability, I would say, is the toughest a lot of times, because accountability comes in when you have to say you're wrong, or you had an assumption and you didn't clarify. But that actually helps build trust, that you can go and say, yes, I was incorrect. Yes, that is my fault. What can we do? That acknowledgement that a lot of people need to have. So assessing yourself. What can you do? What tools can you use? We use the DISC. I use Intermetrics. I use different tools. And many of you maybe have used a Briggs. You might have used colors. Anything that can help identify in your leadership assessment what you can do. The other thing I feel, when we become stagnant and you can plateau, try to identify some live, what is just standing still? What is your team saying to you? Maybe they're not hearing. What is saying to you that you need to change? Compare maybe performance. What have you done? What have you not? The best thing that I see is, and this is when you can compare in a sense of an organization's performance to some industry leaders, to identify maybe some gaps in your approach and what you're doing. Now, In the race, I want to, the part, it wasn't a race, it was a walk. Let me correct myself. The awareness walk. Getting that feedback is like, I had to tell myself, yes, you didn't complete the whole mile, but you completed half a mile. That's more than you not doing it at all. I had to take, the feedback I got was exactly that. Well, you did half of it. No one said you couldn't go do the other half. And that was very true. That didn't come across my mind because I was closed in the lid of, I only had this time right here. I only had they never put a time on it to complete the walk. I put the time on it. I added the expectations. I put that invisible lid that I had to have it done by a certain time, which was very, very incorrect. I limited myself in my potential. I could have, which I had to do. I had to take a break. But looking at it, and that comment came actually from my daughter. She's 17, and I had there were some younger ones there. And they are so genuine and so innocent when they give their feedback. Like, you can still do it. They have the little pom-poms. You can still do it. It's not over. They're so great. And we think sometimes just because they're younger, they don't have the insight because we're adults sometimes. But they genuinely do. Their heart is open and they are so transparent, honest, with no filter a lot of times. So it does make a difference to your feedback. Your feedback is not always from your team. It's from people that you wouldn't even think about that can give you such a nugget to change your vision and the outlook that you're having on that. So looking at the performance wise, yes, I was able to go back and just finish it on my own. I didn't have to do it in a group, but it went to my satisfaction, my reflection. I used the feedback. I did self-reflect, but the plateau that I actually was putting on myself was the time limit that was actually never set or there. A lot of times we do that. We put limits that were not even set. Yes, we have to have standards, but our standards still have to be within our reach. They are not to be so high that we make it impossible at the moment to reach. But we still have time to do that. If we make that time, and like I was saying, the commitment, what are you committed to doing? What commitment are you making to lift some of the lids that you are placing on yourselves? As we're speaking about, is the personal growth, and that comes from doing. A lot of times we look at that's just a book, or we have to read something mechanically and organically. We have to let things flow and let the change happen in our growth. A lot of times we have all the information, all the tools. How are we implementing them to change that? How are we investing in some of the training, the coaching and continuous learning to expand our capabilities? We're taking all this information. How are we implementing and applying it? One great thing too is having an accountability partner or even a mentor that can help you in what you're doing. Having that extra voice, it can help you build a stronger team. Surround yourself with people and talented individuals who can complement your own strengths and development areas. You don't always, as they say a lot of times, is you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, who are you learning from in that sense? Because you're going to gravitate, you're going to say, I know this, I know that. You're going to come into a mental space where you're not able to grow. So you just implemented yourself with a lid on, being the smartest person in the room, when you're not going out to find other strategies or get someone else to help you. And that's another thing. Reluctant to ask for help. Why are we so reluctant to ask for help? And it's how do you look at the word help? Is the help, are you looking at help as, I have to ask because I can't do it? What's wrong with you can't do it? You're not meant to do everything. You are meant to have help. You are meant to have people help you. You have your own unique gift that you have in your talent that comes easily. You have the world around you. You have the team around you of talented individuals. Give them a chance to help you. Help is not a bad word. Now, when it's abused, yes, it is when it's abused. But in the sense of it's what the boundary that you set. But it's how do you need help? Implore help. It doesn't mean that you are not capable. It just means I need another talented individual to get me to where I want to be. I'm expanding my vision of ideas, but I need someone else maybe to help those come to reality. I can envision it sometimes, but maybe I need their help to help me implement it. I need their help to help bring it to life a lot of times. So be open to those new ideas. Be open to feedback. That's going to help you expand that vision. And even if that feedback in the moment may not be what you agree with, I implore you to take some time to reflect on it, because sometimes there's some piece in that advice, some piece in that new idea that may seem absolutely ridiculous, but sometimes that absolute ridiculous out of box thinking is what is needed to move that stagnation that you have in your organization and even in yourself. Open your mind for that growth. Open your mind to help from someone else. And the help from someone else is going to look like you seeing these steps as you see on the books. You're moving up one step at a time, one chapter at a time, one page at a time, and even down to one word at a time when you're doing something. One word has so much power. As I said, the word help. That has the power to have you retreat. It has the power to help you move. So identifying if you are someone who does not like to ask for help, that's someone who thinks that you can do everything yourself. You can do quite a bit. Yes, we all can, but we still need a strong team to surround us and to keep us moving. You have individuals brought into your life. They've been selected to be a part of your team. Use them to also help you grow personally. Keep moving forward instead of you sitting there saying, I got this. Do you completely have it in the quality nature? Or are you looking at quantity and how many things that you can say, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. When you hear someone venting sometimes all what you're doing, it's sounding as you're overwhelmed. And you need help, but you're being reluctant to ask. So strategies and lifting that lid. Find that personal growth. Use that team you have. And the biggest thing, expand your vision. It's not always what's in front of you sometimes. Even what's in front of you, a lot of times you say, if it was a snake, it would have bit me. If it was it's right here in front of me, I didn't even see it. How many times do you see that? How many times are you experiencing it? What was right in front of me in the track it was there for me to conquer. It was there for me to finish. But I put the limitation temporarily, because I did finish. I put the limitation on when I was going to do it and how I was going to do that. Sometimes we do this unintentionally, and that's what gets us stuck. And that helps us prevent us using the strategies that we know sometimes to lift the lids that we put on ourselves. So breaking through some of these barriers that we have. As I said, delegating. When you delegate to other people, it actually does trust for you. The trust, it takes a lot to build, especially when it's coming in and policies have changed, rules have changed. And even when you change expectations of the team, and a lot of times you hear, I've always done it this way, or we have done it this way. So you get that change resistance that you get. You're just empowering your team members to take more responsibility. As I said, allowing you to focus on a higher level strategy. This is where they're looking to you to embrace that change. They're looking to you to feed them and move them, because you're at the top, you're leading them. So you need to push things off your plate that others can actually help you with. Take that, and that's your responsibility and accountability that you're lacking when you're not using the actual other resources you have right in your hand. And that trust also, it fosters collaboration. When you're establishing that collaboration from me, you get cross-functional initiatives to capitalize on diverse perspectives and skills. Again, diverse perspectives and skills. This helps you see more. You're encouraging teamwork, and they feel they want to. You ignite their passion again because you're trusting them. You're trusting them to do the work. You're trusting them that I see you. You're trusting them to saying, I'm trusting you to do this. I know you can. Even when we see that they're able to do something they don't do it themselves, we have to look to ways to empower. But the best thing is looking at ourselves. How do we empower ourselves? Because remember, when they're not trusting and we're not trusting, especially, we're putting, again, another lid. We're not delegating authority because it's showing we're not trusting. Now, if it's something that we know we can only do, that's different. But again, when you have all these different things on your plate that need done, especially if you see in your team and even in yourself, reflect, why am I not getting this done? What frog am I avoiding right now? Why can't I get this done? And can't meaning you're avoiding to get it done. You're not using your resources. You're not using your team. What is it saying to your team and the other people with you? They don't trust me. Or micromanaging. Let's not micromanage. That's another thing. Micromanaging and trusting. Yes, I asked you to do this, but we're micromanaging. What does that do for us? What does it do for us, our mind, mentally? We delegated it, but we didn't let it go off our table. We are still acting like that is our assignment when we gave it to another person to help us, another team member to help us. Like, and even in family, and look at your family dynamics. What are you encouraging in your family? And this, like I said, this law of the lid applies so much in personal and professional because it bleeds over. Some of the strategies you can use in both settings, but the main component, like I said, in communication is you and I, but the you is the first and foremost place where you have to start. You have to start unraveling a lot of those. And unraveling it is the change. Change is another word that people fret from change. Oh, it's change. But again, let's go back to the concept of when you got a promotion or when you had so much passion to do something. If you like artwork, if you like numbers, you like details, you like seeing results. That gave you satisfaction. That gave you passion. That was change. You saw that change for good, but change is not always in the negative. We have to embrace it. It's being willing to adapt your leadership style, the way you do it best, and you find different ways to develop it. You challenge that status quo to drive transformational change. What are you changing and driving? What do you see when you're looking and accounting of what else that you can do? What are you transforming? Because that makes such a big difference in how you embrace the word change. So we have words of change, trust, and help. Those, a lot of times, if it's especially trust, if trust is broken, you have to rebuild it. But you have to be willing to embrace that change to either rebuild it or not build it at all. But breaking a trust also comes with the feelings and emotion that comes by your emotional intelligence. You're going to act when it comes to anybody, you're going to have a mistrust. You may not trust very easily. Also, or trusting some of the decisions that you make. Decision making is crucial, especially in leadership, but crucial to the point of the attention. In that moment, you have to agree you made the best decision at that time. And that is okay, but you can change it later. You can adapt to that decision because you always have another day. And one quote that I saw that I loved, basically every day is a new day in your life. You cannot start the next day. You should not start the next day with the broken pieces of yesterday. And to me, that was powerful because the pieces that we see as broken, that can be a beautiful masterpiece that's sitting there. But what are we going to do with those pieces? What are we going to pick up and change? Just like the bricks on this wall. We can break through it, but we're making a new transformation of the brick wall to what we need it to be. We can have a window in a wall. We can have just a straight wall. What are we going to do that's going to help us transform? That's going to help us change. That's also going to bring a smile to our face. That happiness that may be gone, or that plateau, as we were saying before. That plateau to me is just that brick wall. Paint the wall. It can just be a wall. It doesn't have to be a window. Let's paint it. What are we going to paint? And I mean by painting it is painting the reflections of you on it. What are you going to see breaking through that? breaking through does not necessarily mean breaking those bricks out. Breaking through is painting a beautiful reflection of art on that wall that you are happy, that makes you smile. A symbol, something very artistic of saying, that makes me happy. I love butterflies. When I see a butterfly, it automatically puts a smile on my face. I look at the different colors it has. I look at the different patterns that it also has. Look at your walls. What can you paint? Reflections of you that you see to break through some of your leadership barriers and lids that you are actually seeing yourself. We're all at different levels. As you grow in leadership, you're going to come up with different barriers, or I call them challenges also. That means you're developing. That means you need another level to push you to grow more. So that change is a good change to make you stronger, as we see in our situations. It makes you stronger and more adept to in communication. So you need another level to challenge you. Challenges actually give you the opportunities and help you grow even more. So with as I was saying, the reflections of you, what are you leaving behind? What do you want to leave in your leadership legacy? This is same with your family and legacy. So reflect on what you're building. So mastering the law of the lid, which you're always it's a continual process, because we're going to have more lids as we develop, as we look at ourselves more, as we build more teams. And this is not teams that's just at work. These are community teams you're in. You're volunteering. Again, you may not have that title, but that you're always going to have a position in the sense of you helping and volunteering in your best capacity. So what lasting positive impact on your organization or the people that you are leading? What are you leaving behind? What do you want to leave? What do you want to leave behind? Even with your teams. So and legacy of your teams, the impact, like I said, it does not only mean in work. Any team, or basically anything you are not by yourself doing, is a team impact. As I said, there's no I in team, but there's me in team, but you still have to sit there and you still have to look at what you're doing. So in the organization, how are you increasing that effectiveness of the organization? You do that by improving your leadership abilities, as we said. Unlock that potential growth that you have to impact it. You know, sometimes what you're not wanting to do, that what you see yourself not wanting to do, those things you dread doing, those are the things you need to work on. Those are the things that you need to focus more on, and those are things that you need to unlock. And it doesn't have to be a one big chunk. As we saw in the books, it can be one word at a time, one paragraph, one book, one chapter at a time, but continually making that impact. And one thing to reflect on too, it doesn't have to be a gigantic win sometimes that we have to see this big explosion, or I said this big party. Celebrate your small wins. Celebrate that you just woke up and you just committed to, when you woke up, you said something positive. You were able to commit to saying your affirmation. So I love the law of the lid, because it applies to so much. It's a powerful principle that will transform your leadership and really unlock unprecedented success for your business and for yourself. So understanding some implications, understanding that it's going to help develop some of your skills, and especially empowering your team, you overcome those limitations and you create the impact you desire. You always have a choice. You always have a lane to create, again, the impact you desire. So the impact with me and with the race, that it really took a toll on me, was that I am putting restrictions on myself before anyone else did. I am thinking, dang, I just put a rule there that wasn't even there. I had the opportunity. I had the full ocean to sit there and pick and sail, but I chose to stay chose to stay in this little pond because I chose to. What are you choosing to do that others aren't putting rules on, but you're putting them on yourselves? Your future vision that you have, how are you creating this positive legacy and the mindset that you have? Focus on creating some of those things of, again, what you desire. How are you choosing for your destiny? How are you choosing the leadership that you want to impact? And a lot of times it's looking at how is my impact changing a life? Or better yet, what value am I adding to people? Instead of saying, how can I help them? You help them by adding value to them. It's not controlling an authority. It's allowing to help you to expand their skills, to improve their skills by simultaneously helping and building your skills that you have. So this is a challenge that I have for you. I want you to look at 5 areas of growth that you see with yourself. And while you take those 5 areas, and maybe if you don't even have 5, start with 2. There is some area that we can always grow from. So I want you to pick one and commit to it. Reflect on it daily and list some actions to raise them. They don't have to be very detailed and very intricate. Just find some actions that you can commit to for at least a week. Start with a week. So one action to lift a leadership lift that you have identified that you may be doing. And one thing too is a lot of times is we're expecting people to lead how we lead. We have to see what their best and how their leadership style is that complements the team, that complements maybe the objective, that complements the goal. Keyword complement and work together. So I would implore you to take the challenge and to see what leadership lids that you may be putting on yourself and in especially the business and organization, and better yet, the value that you are lacking that you are putting on yourself that you need to put into the people of value that you add. You have so much value. You are born with the value in it. You know what you like and your passion. I really encourage you to pull some of that passion out that might have died, or maybe some of that happiness that you've let settle. Let's unravel some of that and take action and find some areas that you can grow with. It was a pleasure. I hope that you find some law in leadership, some lid that you can extinguish and execute. And I am just so appreciative of just spending the time with you this morning and hearing. So any questions or comments you guys may have, please let us know. And please share this with others. Maybe someone else may need to hear and they need to reflect. And just your voice can be so encouraging and powerful for others. Please use it. Your voice is powerful and you are powerful, and use your gifts the best to your ability and best you can. And I thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach Crystal. You have just unpacked for us so many good nuggets and giving us some tools that we can use, this morning, the law of the lid. I mean, that is just such an important perspective, that you shared, and helping us to just get these leadership insights so that we can really upgrade our abilities, because
Right.
really it's about adding value, and we can't add value to others until we first add value to ourselves. And so
Exactly.
this has been amazing. We are so grateful to have you in our community, and just to always get these little nuggets that you give us that we can use right now. That's really important. We look forward to hearing you when you come back with us next time. And I don't know when that'll be,
Definitely.
but, you have to let us know when we can steal you. I know the colleges and different ones that are using your skills right now are just so blessed to have you, but so are we, and we're just grateful. Well, with that said, you guys have heard it from Coach Crystal. Make sure that you take these notes and put them into play right away. We look forward to seeing you again when you're here with us next time.